state supposedly trying to take over this district?
They
Is
haven't.
it on?
There have been, so Mr. Bob's question is what's the status on the state takeover of HISD? There's been new legislation this last legislative session that makes it, that kind of, they've moved the target to where we fall into that category. If one school doesn't pass yet again, just one, it's just one school. We've been successful in 2 out of 3 lawsuits, and we are going to fight in tooth and nail to keep our community control, right? So that's how that goes. Local control is where it's at. Absolutely. Ms. Reyes Avila? Oh, Ms. Kravitz? Reyes Avila, Ms. Garza. Then
Actually, Jeanette was next.
No, go.
well, can I give Ms. Kravitz a turn since she hasn't spoken?
Okay, I want to make a couple of comments to your comment. Like, I know, Ms. Santos, you can't, you know, you're a board that has many schools and you're one of several on a board. And we know that it's a struggle to try to solve all the issues, and we have a lot of issues in our education system. But I do know that, you know, as a partner in this community, you know, I lead an education coalition, and we work really closely with all the schools in the North Side, North Line area. I think it's close to almost 20 schools. So we work with the principals, we work with wraparounds, whoever wants to be a part of this coalition, and we address issues like social, emotional. We also talk to the schools about how, you know, how do we gain more parent support in the community, you know, in the schools, which is building PTOs, identifying those schools who don't have PTOs so that we can start building that, which leads to, you know, advocating for their schools. It's not just a matter of having, you know, cafecito with your comadre. It's about doing something for your school that you want to change. And so we're working with the schools to build the PTOs up, to identify different programming for the students that they can incorporate, whether it's social emotional, whether it's mentorship, I can go on a whole list of things that the schools have identified of what they want, after school activities. And so I just want to encourage you, if you are in a school that is in the North Line, North Side area, to be a part of the education coalition that occurs the second Tuesday of every month. And if you want to be a part of it and don't know how, we can talk after the meeting. But that's one way that we're supporting our local schools. The second thing is I was at a Sam Houston meeting last week, and of course I know y'all probably covered it, but Sam Houston's losing 33 non-teacher positions. I mean, that is just crazy. And it's,
Wow.
I don't know exactly how many teachers they have, but
33
non-teaching positions.
We were talking about the paraprofessionals that, yes,
Yeah.
and how important they are.
So it could be wraparounds, it could be counselors, it could be anything that, you know, we're barely making it on what the staff that we have now, or the support that we have now. So it's just really concerning. What can you tell us as a community? What can we do to help our schools in this fight to say, hey, we need, you know, to keep these positions, or as many as we can? What can we do to advocate for that?
Email the board, come speak at a board meeting, and give feedback to the administration that this is not acceptable.
And when we email the board, who receives those emails? Like, how do we get?
We all receive the emails. If for those of you that have sent an email, if I don't respond, I send it as a board referral, because it's something that out of our scope. Like we don't do it, so we give it to the superintendent referral. So then they are following up with you later. If you haven't gotten a response from the superintendent referral, come back to me and I will make sure that it goes back in. So that's, if you haven't heard from me. Normally, I think I'm pretty good at responding. I try to as soon as I can, but that's where we're at, Ms. Reyes Avila. Thank you so much for bringing that up. So what I'm hearing is that human talent is important, and that these budget cuts are not what the community wants. That's what I'm hearing. Okay, Ms. Kravitz. Yes, you may. Oh, and by the way, this was my fourth community partner that was going to speak, and I was going to let her speak at the end, which is 6:23.
Okay. So, hi. I know some of you, and I've seen some of you speak at board meetings, and it's nice to meet some of you. So nice to be back here together. I started teaching here in 1989. I became an administrator here at some point. All of those times I was much thinner, such is life. I think with all of us gathered together, we have a really awesome opportunity to talk about some of the things we can do regarding the budget. And this is going to segue into my invitation to everybody to come to Community Voices for Public Education's summer conference, which is June 25th. We're going to have a woman named Vivian Anderson come. She's going to talk about school safety, school to prison pipeline. We're going to have a lot of public education policy speakers talking about school finance, what we can do about it on the local level, what we can do about it on the state level, how to deal with banning books, how to advocate for things that we care about in our schools. It'll be from 9 to 3 on Saturday, June 25th, and it'll be pretty cheap, and it's at Resurrection Church on 11th. If you're interested in more budget talk from a recent former school board member, our former trustee, Ann Sung, is going to watch the board meeting tomorrow, and then on Saturday at Saturday's Community Voices meeting, for a portion of the meeting, she's going to summarize what I'm going to say. I'm going to try to say it in 4 sentences right now. And that's a fail right now, somebody looking at the watch. The budget, as you said, is a budget that says we can pay for it in a year, and then after that we can't. And so it's not a real budget now. And there are some issues that we can bring forward. If you want to raise teacher salaries, which I know we do because we don't want to lose teachers to other districts, there are only 3 places you can get that money from. Contracted services. 8 years ago when I looked at it with a couple other people who went through all of it, there's so much waste. It's $250 million 10 years ago. It's probably $300 million now. I'm going to name 3 things in a second that could easily be cut that wouldn't harm anybody. And it's up to us to let them know that we're watching with love in our heart. So contracted services is one. Closing schools is another. I never advocate it because it always ends up in brown and black neighborhoods. The other is cutting staff. Cutting staff we stand up against except when it's fluff. If there's extra people at the central office, and instead of just saying that, you talk about things that are real. We've had SSOs since Terry Greer was here, new 1st and 2nd year principals, maybe need an SSO to monitor them. The seasoned principals don't. So those positions, $135,000 a year, could go away and nothing bad would happen. There's also, and we need to talk about that, so if you know things. And the truth is, if you cut staff in classrooms, if you cut teachers and other support staff, class size goes up, and nobody here wants that. Class size going up harms children, and harms children most in communities that don't have additional resources to supplement. But there are things, and I think this is what I'm not supporting the superintendent's quick move, but on every single campus, some people waste money. I know as an administrator,